Hello, I'm Doug from Worship Musician Magazine, and it's our distinct pleasure to be able to present the song story and video premiere for one of the very amazing songs from Gateway Worship's new album. We are going to be joined by some special guests, Lauren Mwaga and Zach Rowe from the Gateway Worship team. And with that said, it's my pleasure to introduce Lauren and Zach. Lauren, Zach, good morning. Or I should say, good afternoon. How are you?
Doing great. Glad to be here.
Doing well. We're 1 minute into the afternoon, so you're accurate either way.
Okay, very good. And you're coming to us from Texas. Let's take a moment and talk a little bit about your respective roles at Gateway. For those of you that are tuning into the stream, one of the things that we're wanting to do is unpack a little bit of the story of not just the song, not just the ministry, but the people behind it. So if you'd be so kind as to tell us a little bit about your respective roles of what you do from day to day as we jump into this. Lauren, why don't we go ahead and start with you?
Sure. I have the privilege of serving the Next Gen teams at one of our extension campuses in Grand Prairie. And so I get to lead kids, student, and young adult worship teams, and just be a part of building those teams and then leading for some of those services, as well as the adult services on the weekend. So being the co-lead and then sometimes primary leader on the weekend services, amidst a whole slew of services that I also get a privilege to lead, conferences and different things like that. Women's conference, Gateway conference coming up is going to be really cool. It's going to be all virtual online this year. So just a lot of really cool opportunities to lead worship, but primarily like my day job, if you will, is leading those next gen teams.
Zach, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, mine is very similar to Lauren, Pastor Lauren, the bishop herself. We have the same role at different campuses. I'm at our South Lake campus in Shocker, South Lake, Texas, and it's our broadcast campus. And so I have the same role that Lauren has. We have the privilege of serving with some amazing people in our Next Gen ministries. We get to see the up and coming. And not even that, we get to see them not up and coming, but they're already here. So we get to serve with them on a weekly basis outside of COVID. This last season's been interesting for all of us, but yeah, we have a really amazing group of people at the South Lake campus that we get to serve with, and all the other things are always happening as well, and they're great.
So as we get ready to go into the song story and the video premiere for the song "See You Move," I would love it if you can kind of give us just a little bit of preamble because as you guys are talking about, going into this session, one of the things you reveal, and I love this, I think a lot of people, when they see worship leaders, they think of you sometimes as being the cream of the crop. You lead these tidy, perfect lives, everything spotless, when in reality, we're all human. And, what I love about the song story, it kind of reveals the personal side of kind of going, sometimes we don't always feel like being there, but it's out of that kind of obedience to just showing up that we set the perfect template for God to walk in and put his signature on the things when we actually go, I don't have anything to give today, but God's got it. Can you give a little bit of insight on that?
Yeah, I'll say that's pretty much nailing it right on the head. Like what we just going into the day that we wrote this song together. I wish Josiah Thunderbird could be with us today, but he was also an integral part in the writing of this song. And when I look back on that day, what I realize is that I was sitting in a room with my brothers, and there was such an openness and a transparency to just be myself. And I didn't really feel like I had anything to bring that day. And so what we did, instead of trying to, write the perfect song is we talked about where we were hurting, and where we did have doubt, and where we were frustrated. And so that really was the catalyst to, the honest lyric that you hear. And really, I feel like the emotion that carries through, was, I attribute to the honesty that we had with each other. So that's got to be probably the most meaningful thing to me about the origin of the song.
Zach?
Yeah, I remember that same thing. I remember being in that room, and as any songwriter knows, there's not a formula for, one formula works every time of how to get into that space where you feel like the Lord is really, like, you become a conduit and the Lord is just dropping these lyrics on you, or you're mining out lyrics and chords and melodies and all the things that need to be in place. Instead of diving into that, just like Lauren said, we dove into a conversation, and Lauren was the one that opened up the door for us to all be vulnerable that day. And she just kind of shared with us where she was, and then we were all sharing where we were. And it was so powerful. I remember, I can trace back at least this one method back to that specific day when we wrote this song, that I found myself in future songwrites where I would say, hey, let's just have a conversation before we start writing. How are you guys doing? Where are you? Are you even here? Because you can be in the room and not be present. So let's acknowledge those things instead of acting like, instead of putting our masks on today, let's take them off and actually be real, because I know that God honors that. And I really learned that through this songwrite in a very real way. And I remember Josiah Funderburg, our friend who wrote this with us as well. I remember he was the one that said, we had started writing a couple lyrics, and it was right at the top of us writing. He said, I really believe that this song should carry a conversational tone, that whenever we're talking, we don't need to polish these words up necessarily. We need to just be authentic and be real. That needs to be what's most valuable to us and what we're kind of aiming for. And so with that in mind, it takes the pressure off to be poetic and to have all these perfect phrases in place, but to just say, okay, Lord, where am I? And I think that, if you read the lyrics, you do get that conversational tone with the Lord, which I think that a lot of people are shocked to know that we can have with him. He wants to meet us in that very real place where we don't have to come with him. Even Jesus, when he was on the earth, not to preach, Doug, but just really quick, he said that the Pharisees were very full of themselves. They loved to hear themselves speak. They loved to hear themselves pray. They would stand on the corners and pray very loudly. And Jesus said, they think they're going to be heard because of their many words. But your Father knows what you need before you even ask him. And I just think that we were able to encounter the Lord in that way on that day. And it changed us because we saw that we didn't have to come to him with many, poetic and perfect words. We just needed to come as we were in that exact moment. And that was true, authentic worship. And he really honored us because this whole song came that one day in that session for the most part.
So I love that part about showing up as you are. I think, we live in this world, we were talking a little bit about preparation and all of this stuff. The idea is you just have to show up as yourself. I think for a lot of people, it's a relief. And you actually talked about the mask, in some ways, this season, I'm reaching for a mask that's out of frame here. But the point being is in this season, we actually are wearing masks. We actually get a chance to hide a little bit in our households and be removed. And I love the idea of like, hey, let's take the mask off. And I think that's one of the best ways that worship leaders can really lead people forward. Is just like, you know what? When we take the mask off, God reveals himself and reveals who he wants us to be in him. So with that said, let's move to See You Move. Song story and the video premiere.
Starting off this song with here and now or down the road, either way it goes, is really surrendering the outcome of the situations that we all walk in every day with and believing that God's going to be faithful no matter what. I remember coming into this songwriting session if I'm being honest, I don't know that I really wanted to be there that day. That's to me what real surrender is saying, God, even on the days that I don't feel it, even on the days that I don't really have what it takes in and of myself to accomplish what you're calling me to do, I'm going to trust you.
I will trust in you. I will remember your faithfulness.
I remember being so nervous that I would have nothing to contribute. I felt like the only thing I had was honesty, and it felt like a pretty vulnerable place.
And we all were in that place of, okay, I can either veer off into despair or I can go deeper into faith and deeper into maturity to know that even if I don't see it yet, I know that I'm gonna see God move. And so we wrote those verses and the choruses, and it really all came together that one day in that one writing session.
In the day-to-day, in the in-between.
What I hope people experience is a fresh revelation of God's faithfulness, no matter the circumstance that they're looking at in the natural.
Help me see.
My hope is that they would have that conversational tone with the Lord to say, let's let all the walls drop, let's let all the facades drop, and let's be real with each other.
When we believe in the goodness of the Lord and we see what we need, but we don't know how it's going to come to pass, the power of God is limitless. There is nothing that He cannot do. And that's what I hope people realize.
Every prayer, I know you know what I'm waiting for. Here and now, or down the road, either way it goes. 'Cause your yes is perfect. And you know it's due. I will trust in you. I will remember your faithfulness. I'm confident I will see you move. You'll never leave.
Lovely. So, wonderfully done. If I may quote, I will remember your faithfulness. I'm confident I will see you move. You never leave me. You're always here. So I love the proclamation. And again, you pointed out that when you went into that writing session, it was a wrestle. Um, when you guys are writing worship songs, how much are you writing for yourself? How much are you pulling down something from heaven that you're hanging on to because there are days that we all need that thing to hang on to? And how much are you going, there's somebody out there, whether it's a virtual congregation, whether we're meeting in person, that needs to hear this message. Can you unpack that?
I think that one of the really incredible things about serving at any church, but carrying the heart of a pastor is saying, if I feel this way, there are high odds that a lot of people are feeling this way. And the thing about community and living life together in community is that you'll find that in your struggle, a lot of times the enemy wants you to believe that you're the only one suffering, or you're the only one experiencing hardship, pain, struggle. And it's when you come to the realization that you aren't alone, that I really believe the Lord brings breakthrough into your life. And a lot of times we have to be honest about where we're at. And so I think it's really a mixture of both things. It's a mixture of saying, okay, this is where I'm at as an imperfect being, as someone who's fully reliant on the Lord to bring that breakthrough for me in my life. So if I am, probably a lot of other people are as well. And so I think one other thing I did want to say was I love how accountable we are as writers at Gateway, because we've sat in meetings, where I recall a time where Pastor Tim Shepard brought up, a lyric in his song Linger that I love. I love this song Linger. Y'all should check it out if you haven't heard it. But he brought up a lyric, and it was like he put it on the table, and it was a bunch of pastors in the room, and he just said, he wanted to make sure that it was biblically that it had carried biblical foundation, that it didn't just sound good. And so there's high priority in writing at Gateway for that as well, which has really challenged us. I think I could speak for all of us to say we want, you said pulling down heaven. Really, we want to pull out of the Word of God. And so coming from that place of humanity, but also making sure that we're conveying the truth of the scriptures is, I would say, of near equal importance. Obviously, the Bible takes precedence, but Zach, you want to chime in?
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that thought. I mean, it does take the pressure off of you to come up with a great lyric. Whenever you just say, let's just sing God's word. I think that there's so much in that struggle for vulnerability, to kind of go back to that point too. And I think, Doug, you touched on this as well, but I think that is the hesitation that we would feel that would make us not step into vulnerability, which is, well, I'll be the only one and I'll be exposed, and everyone will then see that I'm weak and I can't handle the pressure and I'm struggling, when in reality, the much more powerful thing to do is to understand that all of us are simultaneously struggling and we all need each other. And the only thing that keeps us from stepping into that vulnerability is our own pride. But when we can lay that down and say, I need you. And that was a huge struggle for me in the past, was a struggle with anxiety and panic attacks and depression. And I ultimately came to the point where I realized, you know what, through my childhood, I kind of picked up this mantle of I need to not need anyone, and I need to be okay being a lone wolf, and I need to be the guy that's kind of a self-made person. Like, I can do this on my own no matter what situation comes. Well, when the situation comes that is a struggle for your own sanity and anxiety, and it's an internal struggle that you have no weapons and no tools other than the Word of God to fight against, you get humbled very quickly in the best way possible, because you understand that the Holy Spirit, the Comforter, is so near to you whenever you're brokenhearted. He's so near to you whenever you're in mourning. He's so near to you whenever you feel like you don't know what's up and what's down anymore.
Amen.
And that's where I was in that season. And that vulnerability only came whenever I finally was able to say in truth in my heart, God, I need you. And this song was kind of a microcosm of that. We all were coming in from different places in the room that day, different reasons why we needed God, different reasons why it wasn't just, oh Lord, I want a new insert, something here. It was, God, I don't know if I can continue unless you do something and unless I see something real. And Lauren, I think you wanted to share that. We had a little bit of a lyric swap in the second verse. We wrote something very visceral on the day of that we changed a little bit, but the heart is still there. So you wanted to share that, Lauren.
Yeah, I love bringing this up because I think it's really cool just to hear, the steps that a song went through. But the second verse originally was, in the day-to-day and the in-between, show me miracles. I need to see something real. I'm not letting go. So if you see what actually ended up happening, I just love that less polished, real desperate. It's coming from a very desperate place. If you envision yourself before the Lord saying, show me miracles. And, I need to see, as in like, I have no option. I must. And where we would never want to be, where we would never want to carry a prideful posture before the Lord. I think that it's very beautiful to note the humanity in the request and to say, oh my gosh, I'm nothing without you. And I'm so at the end of my rope. Show me miracles. It does feel very raw. And anyway, I feel that the heart still translates in the lyric that we ended up on. But I think that we can all relate to that place in our journey with Christ. And I just gotta say, for anyone listening, I hope you know the Lord, because I don't know how people live life without Jesus. Yeah.
I love it. So one of the things that Cole said, he actually used the word, because, for people that are new to faith or kind of kicking the tires, the word submission in this society is a terrifying word, especially without the parameter of like, I'm going to submit my life to God so he can fix the stuff that I just can't get right. He can bring the relationships that I can't seem to attract into my world. He can surround me with people that are praying for me even before I knew people were praying for me. I think my favorite line in the song, though, however, is your yes is perfect, but like, oh, I'm getting goosebumps. And your no is too. So like, okay, so like you've got to unpack that, because most of the time, because in the song you are talking about your promises, your promises, your promises, but also God sometimes just goes, I've got my promises, but what you want, I have to say no to sometimes.
Yeah. Wow.
Can you guys
Zach,
kind of unpack
that's all
that?
Zach wrote that line. That whole line.
Well, I'll say, an interesting way that I like to think about songs and writing songs is that we as songwriters, I've just been a part of too many where the Lord gives us a specific word or a line or a melody or, a progression or an idea in production afterwards. I've been a part of too many of those, and I know myself too well to know that I did not come up with that. So something I like to say is I was the first person to hear that line.
Nice.
I know the Lord dropped it on us, but the first time that I heard that line, I was in actually a prayer meeting at our Dallas campus, and we were praying, and it was in kind of a flow moment and leading worship, in between songs, and just trying to hear what the Lord wanted to say and trying to just sing out and continue to press into his presence. And I sang that line, your yes is perfect and your no is too. And I remember thinking like, wow, that kind of came out of nowhere. That was interesting. And then fast forward, didn't do anything with that. It just was kind of in that exact moment. And then fast forward probably about a year, and I was sharing a little bit earlier with you, Doug, and I know Lauren knows this story, but a week before we actually wrote this song, See You Move, my youngest son, I have 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. My youngest boy, his name is Oxford, and he was 2 months old at the time. And my wife walked into our room and saw him face down and not breathing and unresponsive. And his lungs had collapsed by that time. The paramedics came, rushed him to the hospital. He was in ICU for 3 days. And I won't keep you in limbo. God miraculously healed him, and he is healthy and whole and doing very well. But, I will never forget being in my car, riding behind the ambulance when they were transferring him from one hospital to another. And I was looking at the back of the ambulance because only one of us could go in, and my wife was with him. And I remember through tears, it's those moments that really count, and you really figure out how near the Lord is. But I remember I was worshiping, and I was trying my best to sing out a song because I didn't know what else to do. And I remember praying that prayer: God, your yes is perfect and your no is too. And I will trust you. And I remember praying, your yes is perfect and your no is too. But just being honest with you, I remember saying, Lord, please don't say no. Please don't say no. Please heal him. Like, I know that you can. You are the healer. Please heal him. And God answered that prayer. But it came from a very real place of whenever 8 days later we sat down to write, and this song is the one that came out. I told Lauren and Josiah, hey, this line feels important to me. And they both were like, hey, it feels like it fits in this song. So I'm so glad that it got into the song, and I hope that heart carries. And I'm glad that it resonated with you, Doug. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, it's not necessarily the first story I've heard about a father and his son going, God, is this really what you want? That sounds familiar somewhere. And it's a lovely story. It's a lovely reality that you're like, all right, God, this isn't really what you want, but if I'm gonna be obedient to that. So first of all, I want to thank you for making the time today. I love that, in an environment that is, for some folks, it's one thing to lead worship in front of a congregation. It's another thing to have a camera lens right there without a vocal mic, without your IEMs in your monitors, without the band, to just kind of go, I'm going to reveal my heart. So thank you for doing that and being so transparent in the process. We are going to roll out on the song itself. And I, again, just want to thank you so much for sharing your time and your heart. And what a privilege. And thank you for sharing that, the outcome, right? I mean, the great thing is that God,
Amen.
I think the journey isn't, we always want the outcome, but I think God wants us to take the journey to the outcome, because if we get the outcome right away, then we miss the benefit of the shaping part of this. So I love that you unpack that. And so let's play the song here. Thank you so much, you guys. God bless.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Starting off this song with Here and Now or Down the Road, either way it goes, is really surrendering the outcome of the situations that we all walk in every day with, and believing that God's going to be faithful no matter what. I remember coming into this songwriting session, if I'm being honest, I don't know that I really wanted to be there that day. That's to me what real surrender is saying, God, even on the days that I don't feel it, even on the days that I don't really have what it takes in and of myself to accomplish what you're calling me to do, I'm going to trust you.
I will trust in you. I will remember your faithfulness.
I remember being so nervous that I would have nothing to contribute. I felt like the only thing I had was honesty. And it felt like a pretty vulnerable place.
And we all were in that place of, okay, I can either veer off into despair, or I can go deeper into faith and deeper into maturity to know that even if I don't see it yet, I know that I'm gonna see God move. And so we wrote those verses and the choruses, and it really all came together that one day in that one writing session.
what I hope people experience is a fresh revelation of God's faithfulness, no matter the circumstance that they're looking at in the natural.
My hope is that they would have that conversational tone with the Lord to say, let's let all the walls drop, let's let all the facades drop, and let's be real with each other.
When we believe in the goodness of the Lord and we see what we need, but we don't know how it's going to come to pass, the power of God is limitless. There is nothing that He cannot do. And that's what I hope people realize.
Every prayer, I know you know what I'm waiting for. Here and now, or down the road, either way it goes. 'Cause your yes is perfect.